Libra, someone is secretly watching you and the truth is about to come to light. The cover is off and what you've been sensing in your heart is real. This is not just another horoscope. It's a moment of cosmic unveiling, a sacred pause in time where you are being invited to see what's been hidden and why your soul can feel it so strongly right now. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where nothing is random, and every soul who arrives here does so by divine design. You didn't stumble upon this video by accident. You were guided here because something is stirring beneath the surface of your life, and the universe has chosen now to speak to you about it. Let me ask you, Libra, have you felt it? That quiet pressure behind your shoulders when no one's in the room? The way your emotions shift suddenly, like a breeze moving through your chest. Have you had dreams of people from the past, or found yourself thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in forever? That's not a coincidence. It's energy. It's memory. It's emotion, and yes, it's a presence. Someone is still holding on to your vibration. Someone who never really left. Not with their energy. Not with their thoughts. Not with their longing. And now, you're feeling them again because they are focused on you in ways you can't yet see, but deeply sense. Today, we're going to uncover who that is, why their energy hasn't released you, and what truth the universe is ready to place in your hands. This is a journey of clarity, of emotional justice, of energetic balance. It is also a return to your power because Libra, your intuition has never been wrong. It's simply been waiting for the right moment to rise. So if you've been feeling this stirring, this unspoken knowing, confirm your spiritual connection by commenting below. I am ready to see the truth and bring my energy into balance. That one phrase is a key. It aligns you with the frequency of what's coming next and sends a clear message to the cosmos. I'm no longer afraid of what is hidden. I am ready to know. And let me take a moment to share something important. Thank you. Truly. Thank you for being here. Thank you for every comment, every like, and every subscription you've given to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Each one is not just engagement, it is a sacred act of co-creation. Your support allows these messages to reach others, and your energy is what keeps this spiritual circle alive. I feel your presence, and I honor it. And Libra, you're going to want to stay with me all the way through today's reading. Because the message coming through right now is more than insight, it's a shift. It's a reveal. It's the kind of truth that doesn't just open your eyes, but opens a new chapter. Scripture reminds us gently that whatever has been hidden will be brought into the light, not as punishment, but as healing. And that's what this moment is. Not a reckoning but a return. Not judgment but revelation. You are not powerless in this story, you are its author. So take a breath. Settle in. And get ready. Because everything you've quietly suspected is about to be confirmed. Sometimes the energy we feel isn't loud or obvious. It doesn't announce itself with words or actions. Instead, it lingers in the air, rests on our skin, and brushes against the edges of our intuition. When the moon appears in a reading, it's not trying to frighten or confuse you. It's gently asking you to notice what has been quietly trying to get your attention. Leo, this is a moment of deep listening, not with your ears, but with your soul. The moon card symbolizes mystery, subtle influence, and emotional shadows. Astrologically, the moon governs our subconscious, our instincts, and the parts of ourselves that often remain hidden even from us. When the moon's energy appears for you now, it's not just reflecting your internal state. It's signaling that something or someone is moving around you energetically, quietly, invisibly. They may not have spoken to you in a long time. They may never reach out at all. And yet, you feel them. You may have noticed shifts in your sleep, waking suddenly without cause, having vivid dreams involving people from the past, or feeling strangely observed even in solitude. This isn't imagination. It's not drama. It's not anxiety. It's energetic residue, someone's thoughts still entangled with yours, someone who has not fully released the bond they once had with you. They might think of you late at night, relive old conversations, or replay the version of you they can't seem to let go of. Even if you've walked away, even if you've healed, your energy, Leo, still glows. And that glow can attract eyes from afar. You are magnetic, especially when you are stepping into your power. But part of your power now lies in your discernment, understanding which energies are truly aligned with your peace and which are lingering out of need, guilt, or unresolved emotion. This isn't about blame or fear. Sometimes people hold on because they haven't yet found their own closure. But you, Leo, are not responsible for carrying the weight of someone else's emotional delay. You are being asked to acknowledge the pull, not to fight it, but to name it, to breathe through it, and then to release it gently. This is where gentle practices become powerful. Try sitting in quiet meditation before bed. Ask yourself, what energy am I carrying that does not belong to me? Let that question open a dialogue with your own body and your breath. Writing down your emotions, especially under moonlight or when the air is still, can help your thoughts take shape, and once something has formed, it can be released. Even subtle rituals, like burning incense or lighting a white candle, can signal to your nervous system and your subconscious that it's safe to let go. The goal here is not to sever with violence but to detach with grace. Just like the moon waxes and wanes, emotions do too. Some are meant to stay and evolve, others simply pass through, no longer meant to define you. Use soft colors to support your energy during this phase, silvery tones like moonlight, pale lavender, or soft pearl. They bring calm, clarity, and a sense of inner neutrality. Let your space reflect the stillness you're seeking. Remember this, not every connection needs to be carried. Some are meant to teach, to shape, and then to fade. And if a connection continues to follow you silently, it's because your light once offered something meaningful, but now, you are being called to offer that light back to yourself. Let this be your quiet revolution. Not a dramatic exit, but a soft return to your own energetic boundaries. You are allowed to feel everything and still choose peace. You are allowed to release, even when there are no final words. And you are allowed to trust that as you let go of what no longer belongs to your path, something more aligned is already walking toward you. And if that resonates, don't keep it in. Let the energy move by affirming it aloud, or better yet, write in the comments. I release what's not mine and call my power back. It's not just a sentence. It's a sacred step back into your own light. Not everything hidden is meant to stay in the dark forever. Sometimes, the truth waits patiently until we're strong enough or ready enough to face it with clarity and grace. When the Justice card appears in your reading, especially under the energy of Libra, it's not merely a symbol of fairness or external decisions. It is an inner mirror, asking you to align your reality with what has always been quietly waiting to be acknowledged. You may already feel this shift approaching. A part of you might sense that something or someone hasn't been fully honest. Whether it's a person who withheld their true motives, a situation that never made sense but was brushed aside for the sake of peace, or even your own heart denying and knowing that lived deep within you, now is the time it surfaces. This moment, this message, is the gentle but firm nudge from the universe to stop negotiating with your own integrity just to keep harmony. Justice is not about revenge. It's about realignment. It's not about proving anyone wrong, it's about standing in what's right for you. Many people mistake keeping the peace as a form of strength, but the truth is, peace without honesty is only silence. And silence, when rooted in self-denial, eventually becomes a slow form of emotional erosion. You don't have to fight to be heard. You simply have to stop silencing your truth. There is someone or something in your life right now that has benefited from your hesitation to ask hard questions. Perhaps you suspected a motive behind a kind word. Or maybe you felt someone was steering your emotions subtly, molding your perception to fit their own narrative. This may not have been loud or dramatic, but it was manipulative in its quietness, and deep down, you knew it. But here's the beautiful part: now that you've named it, it can no longer distort you. Now that you're aware, you're no longer asleep. And that's where the real justice begins, not when others confess, but when you stop pretending you don't already know. From a self-healing lens, this is your invitation to pause and engage in a personal reckoning. Write down what you've been avoiding. Name the relationship, the dynamic, or the belief that needs to be cleared. Even if nothing has technically gone wrong, if something has continually asked you to minimize your instincts, that is enough of a sign. Your intuition does not need to present receipts in order to be valid. You might feel called now to redefine the boundaries in a certain relationship, or to set the record straight, not because you want to win, but because you deserve to stop losing parts of yourself in the name of politeness. Clarity is an act of love. And love that asks you to stay silent, to carry someone else's weight, or to dim your wisdom, is not love that's meant for your next chapter. There's also a deeper message here that aligns beautifully with quiet biblical wisdom. We are not asked to judge others harshly, but we are called to walk in truth. Not for pride, but for peace. Because walking in truth means walking without confusion. And when your mind and heart no longer need to twist themselves into knots to justify someone's behavior, you begin to breathe differently. Freer. Fuller. Angel number 222 may begin appearing around you on clocks, receipts, license plates. Let it be a reminder that balance is coming, but only through honesty. And that honesty begins with you. If this resonates, take a moment right now and claim your truth. Write it in the comments as an energetic declaration. I choose truth, even when it's hard. I trust that clarity brings peace. Because when justice shows up in your reading, it doesn't just reveal the truth, it reveals your readiness to live by it. Every season of emotional clarity creates room for something new to arrive, not in a rush, not with intensity, but with presence. And just as the energy of justice invited you to realign with truth, the presence of the Empress now invites you to soften into something else: receptivity. Leo, what's arriving isn't here to fix you. It's coming because you're ready to relate differently from a place of wholeness, not from a place of need. The Empress represents more than love. She is a symbol of matured energy, emotional intelligence, and the magnetic beauty that comes from living in alignment with your own rhythm. In astrology, she resonates with Venus, planet of pleasure, connection, and harmony. But unlike the fleeting spark of passion, this card speaks of sustainability. The kind of love that grows slowly, intentionally, like a well-tended garden. The Empress is not loud. She is not chaotic. She nurtures. She listens. She allows. And that is exactly what is approaching you now, someone who mirrors this frequency of calm depth. This new energy might not come wrapped in fireworks, but it will feel undeniably safe. You'll recognize it in the pauses, in the eye contact that doesn't rush, in the questions that don't demand answers but create space. This person won't need you to perform or prove. They will witness who you already are, not because they're trying to complete you, but because they know how to honor someone who has completed themselves. But here's something important: readiness for this kind of connection isn't about perfection. It's about availability. And emotional availability can't exist where emotional clutter still takes up space. If echoes from the past, unspoken closure, old expectations, silent resentment still linger in your emotional field, they can subtly block new resonance from entering fully. Not out of punishment, but out of spiritual design. You can't open a door fully if something heavy is still pressed up against it. So the question becomes, what do you need to clear to make room for peace? Sometimes, it's not about calling someone from the past. It's about having an honest moment with yourself. Maybe it's time to admit you still wonder, what if? Or maybe you're ready to finally say, I deserved better and now I know it. Closure isn't always a conversation with another person. Sometimes, it's a decision within you to stop waiting for one. Loving without armor doesn't mean you abandon discernment. It means you no longer let fear shape your responses. You can love with clarity, hold boundaries with grace, and still be open to what's unfamiliar. True connection doesn't force. It flows. It knows when to step back and when to lean in, and so will this next chapter of your romantic life. There's a quiet wisdom that tells us love is not control. It's not convincing. Love is the patient invitation to be fully seen and still fully embraced. And that's what the Empress brings into your path now, a connection rooted in gentleness and growth, not urgency and intensity. You may feel drawn to soft, grounding colors during this time: muted blush tones, warm beige, the soft luster of pearl. These aren't just aesthetic, they're energetic tools, helping you tune into a vibration of receiving rather than chasing. Let them be your subtle reminders to remain open, soft, and anchored in your truth. If this resonates with you, take a moment to affirm your openness. Let it be heard by the energy that surrounds you by writing in the comments, I'm ready for love that honors who I am, not who I'm expected to be. Because this time, love isn't coming to teach you who you are. It's coming because you already know, and someone else finally sees it, too. ChatGPT NOI. Sometimes the most powerful change doesn't arrive with a bang, it arrives with quiet clarity. It slips in the way a room feels different when something is finally put back in place. The World card marks this moment in your journey, Leo, where the story you've been living begins to close, not with regret or loss, but with a sense of deep inner resolution. What you once called permanent is no longer holding its shape, and surprisingly, that doesn't scare you anymore, it frees you. You might be sensing that certain parts of your life no longer fit who you're becoming. That friendship you've outgrown but stayed in out of guilt. That job that feels like a past version of you still clocking in. That daily rhythm that once brought stability but now feels like an echo. The world signals that you are completing a soul cycle, not just emotionally, but physically, energetically, even structurally. And in this final stretch, you're being invited to honor what you've built, bless what no longer serves you, and prepare for what's next. Completion doesn't mean failure. Walking away doesn't mean you gave up. It means you've gathered what you came here to learn, and now your soul is ready for the next stretch of growth. The world reminds you that closure isn't always a dramatic goodbye. Sometimes it's as simple as waking up and no longer needing the approval, the explanation, or the attachment you once craved. It's a moment of stillness where you realize you've changed and therefore, your life must reflect that change. In astrology, the world is often associated with Saturn, the planet of karmic lessons, discipline, and maturity. When Saturn's lessons are integrated, you don't just move on, you level up. You rise with more grounded wisdom, more self-respect, and a more refined sense of what your energy is worth. And that is what's happening now. A new foundation is being set, one based not on fear or habit, but intention and alignment. To support this transition, your external world may need to mirror what's happening inside. Consider making small but symbolic shifts. Rearrange your furniture, let go of items tied to past versions of yourself, open windows more often, or add something beautiful and new to your space. It's not just about cleaning, it's about clearing. Clearing physical clutter can create the mental spaciousness needed to welcome clarity and momentum. On an emotional level, this may also be a perfect time for a simple spiritual detox. Take 3 days to reduce digital noise. Put your phone down more often. Allow silence. Instead of filling your head with opinions, allow your own thoughts to breathe. You'd be amazed how loud your inner wisdom becomes when you turn the world's volume down. Even your body may be signaling a reset. Gentle movement like evening walks, light stretching, or slow yoga can help you ground into this new energy. Warm lemon water in the morning, foods rich in magnesium, or simply staying hydrated can work wonders in helping your nervous system stabilize. These aren't grand acts, but they are sacred acts. And they remind your system, every day, that you are safe to grow, to shed, and to begin again. One of the quiet teachings we often overlook is this: you are not obligated to stay where you've healed. There's nothing disloyal about outgrowing a space you once called home. As one door closes, you are not locked out, you are being handed a key to something more aligned. If these words resonate, I invite you to say it aloud or write it in the comments. I honor what I've completed and open the door to what's next. Let it be your quiet blessing over a life that is rising to meet the version of you who's finally ready. Everything you've moved through up to this point has been quietly preparing you for a choice, not just a single decision, but a deeper way of living, one that honors your truth without compromise. The appearance of this next phase, often triggered by what seems like a random event, a message out of the blue, a delayed apology, a call from someone you thought you'd never hear from again, is not just coincidence. It is the universe holding up a mirror and softly asking, will you keep choosing what once kept you safe, or will you finally choose what sets you free? This moment is more than a reveal. It's a reclamation. You're not just receiving truth, you're being offered back the authorship of your own story. That's the essence of conscious living, no longer reacting from habit or fear, but choosing with awareness and courage. You don't exist to maintain peace at your own expense anymore. You don't need to shrink yourself to remain accepted. That era has passed. What begins now is a sacred return to yourself, to your voice, your pace, your knowing. As you continue to shift, you may feel certain moments unfolding with symbolic weight. That seemingly small text or delayed message may carry with it the echoes of a much larger truth. A person from your past may circle back, not for reconciliation, but to show you how far you've grown. And sometimes, what returns isn't meant to stay but to help you close the chapter with grace. Other times, a door opens so quietly that you don't realize right away that it's a brand new beginning. And here's something important: you get to decide what that means for you. You are no longer here to follow the rhythms of others. You are here to establish your own. That means allowing yourself to pause before answering, to breathe before reacting, to walk away without guilt, to say yes only when your whole body agrees. Numerology reminds us that moments like this don't happen often, but when they do, they change everything. The number 9 signals completion not as an end, but as a powerful turning point. You've learned what you came here to learn. Now you are free to release. The number 6 brings a message of balance in love, reminding you that real connection is rooted in healing, not in sacrifice. And the number 11? That's your reminder that what you're feeling isn't just emotional, it's intuitive. Trust it. Honor it. Follow it. Sometimes, when we are on the brink of change, it helps to remember that even the most divine guidance shows up in ordinary moments. A whisper in your heart. A sudden calm. A deep breath you didn't know you needed. These aren't signs to wait for permission, they are reminders that your soul has already decided. All that's left is for you to say yes. So take this chapter not as pressure, but as power. Not as a push, but a possibility. You are being asked to choose from a place of love, not fear, not urgency, not guilt. Love for who you've become. Love for the boundaries you've earned. Love for the version of you that no longer wants to chase, but simply wants to live with truth and alignment. If this moment resonates, let it be marked. Share it aloud, or in writing, as your own quiet vow. I no longer wait for permission. I choose what aligns with who I truly am. That's how a new life begins. Not with noise, but with the calm certainty of someone who knows they're finally choosing for themselves. And now, dear soul, as we reach the quiet edge of this sacred moment together, I invite you to pause not in hesitation, but in presence. You've walked through a journey of insight, revelation, and soft awakening. You felt the subtle pull of energies you couldn't name, sensed the unspoken truth rising from within, and realized, perhaps for the first time in a long while, that your life is not something happening to you, it's something you are actively shaping, one conscious choice at a time. There may still be parts of you that feel uncertain. That's okay. Change never asks for perfection, only for honesty. And as you stand at the threshold of what's next, remember, the universe isn't demanding a leap. It's offering you a door. All you need to do is reach for the handle with an open heart. You've seen now that someone may still be watching you, not always with harm in mind, but with unresolved emotion. You've witnessed how silence can hold truths waiting to be revealed. And most importantly, you've remembered that you and only you hold the right to decide what enters your life from this moment forward. This is not about reacting. It's about responding. Responding to your own evolution. To the quiet intelligence of your spirit. To the part of you that no longer wants to be defined by the past, but desires to be redesigned by inner clarity and trust. Can you feel that shift stirring in you? Maybe you're asking, what do I want to carry with me? What am I truly ready to release? Who am I when I stop trying to be who I thought I had to be? These are the questions that matter now. These are the questions that transform ordinary living into soul-led living. If this reading has touched something tender inside you, if your inner compass feels just a little clearer, I invite you to anchor this moment by sharing your intention in the comments. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. You can begin simply by writing, "I'm ready to receive the truth, and to walk into the life I truly deserve." Say it as a vow. Say it as a beginning. And if this message resonated with you, please consider supporting this space. Your presence, your likes, your shares, and your subscription to Zodiac Whisper Tarot are not just numbers, they are the energy that allows these messages to reach the hearts that need them most. Every interaction you make breathes life into this channel and brings these healing transmissions to those who may not even know they're searching for them yet. So if you know someone who's been feeling the strange weight of invisible eyes, or who suspects a truth is trying to surface, share this video with them. Let them know they're not imagining it. Let them know they're not alone. As for you, you've already begun your shift. You've already stepped into a new space. Now comes the living of it. Keep listening. Keep aligning. Keep choosing what feels authentic over what feels expected. And when doubt tries to creep in again, because it might come back to this space, to this truth, and remind yourself, you are not here to chase clarity. You are here to embody it. Thank you for letting Zodiac Whisper Tarot walk beside you today. Until next time, stay rooted in your knowing, stay loyal to your light, and remember, you are allowed to build a life that feels like it was made for your soul.